This is Talk About Topeka on Gab Local TV and TV 25. This episode brought to you by Field of Greens and The Break Room. And here's your host, Chris Schultz.
All right, so we're still in the studio here with Kerrice Mapes, classic overachiever in Topeka here. We were talking about her job at Topeka Civic Theater as the marketing director, and now we're going to switch hats, Kerrice. We're going to talk a little bit about the big 10-year birthday of 785 magazine.
We do. June 15th was the actual day 10 years ago, so 2006, that we took the very first issue of 785. And Jamie Hornbaker, who works for State Farm now, she helped me start the magazine. She and I got in my mother's convertible, and we drove to Topeka, and we went and we delivered the first issue. So almost, to the date. So we're celebrating. The first issue was 12 pages, black and white, not very many pictures. People told us, you're not going to be able to fill a page worth of information, let alone a magazine, over and over and over again. And this issue marks 10 years. It marks our 78th issue. And told you so. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
You get to absolutely do that. Absolutely, because it's great stuff. And not only from just the awareness, but by doing this, by putting this out there and making that community of people who are aware of what's going on, it makes things more successful so people don't have such a hard time getting going, right?
I think so. It's been really a whirlwind and just exciting and interesting to go back when we were creating this anniversary issue. I went back through all the other, past 10 years and to see the dynamic and the change in the attitude of Topeka.
Yeah.
Some really cool businesses were started 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Downtown, Hazel Hill came around 10 years ago. The Break Room came around 10 years
what
ago.
What is that place? Yeah.
Arturo's, the Mexican restaurant. Tailgaters, Topeka's first non-smoking bar, opened 10 years ago. Now think about that real quick. Now you'd be like, we don't smoke anywhere, but 10 years ago, this was a thing,
Yeah.
I looked back and, the happy hours. Remember, we could not have happy hours. All of these things that we covered. And then even, groups and organizations. There was Cords and Oil, this underground art collective of people. The Topeka Bicycle Project that started, Critical Mass, and doing these bike rides. And now, people that were part of that, Carl Funderburger just won, are spearheaded, and now we're one of, a successful launch program of a bike share program.
Yeah.
Some cool things have happened. We did Top City Thursdays in the shop crawl to get feet on the street, and now we're getting ready to have a ginormous concert on July 2nd downtown with the band Kansas to celebrate redevelopment that nobody thought would happen. Huge concerts. it is a cool time to be in Topeka, and the past 10 years have, if you had a strategic plan, so I guess Heartland Vision kind of is doing that for us, but, looking back, we've done some pretty rock star stuff. And if we keep going, I'm
not just in the stuff that you see, but in the way that people speak about the community.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a different feel about it. I know I feel it downtown, saying the Break Room opened 10 years ago. It's a very different business climate than it was 10 years ago.
And to further that, when we first started 785, our tagline that was right under the masthead said, "Proving Topeka nightlife is more than a vicious rumor." And the word vicious was used on purpose, that whole tagline. And we dropped it. We've brought it back a little bit now for nostalgia almost, just because we're kind of 10 years, just popping it in and out of there to remind people that this is why we started. We started 785 because I did not feel that there was a vehicle specifically for young professionals, for the 25 to 45, to learn about cultural events, art events, where the cheap margarita is, live bands, to be a catalyst for change, to be something that only allowed locally only locally owned businesses to be part of and to be proud of our community. And that's what we did. And now, you know, we've grown and we have thousands of readers, and we have social media presence, and, you know, we don't have to prove it anymore.
Yeah.
Now the question is, you know, we want more, give us more. We, you know, how do we get more information and create more events? And
well, the word
it's really
vicious,
great.
you know, you look at that word, if you do go back 10 years ago, that word vicious was the fuel almost to make you say this is necessary, because it was a vicious rumor back then.
It was, you're correct. And you had to really search out and
It might
find
be a
it.
novelty now, but you know,
Right. You had to really search out. And so it's great. And one of the things that I love, I think so much personally, is that the magazine has offered me the opportunity, and the community itself, to really take an idea and go with it.
Yeah.
So, you know, I've talked about this before, but I think Topeka is just nurturing to entrepreneurs, and when you've talked about it too, and allow us to do things. And I think that 785 was one of many that helped kind of break that ground and allow more people to understand that they too can do cool things. They too can go out and start a great reggae music fest, or they can have, you know, these bike rides or truck fest or whatever it is. And people are supporting it, and that's what's exciting, because I feel like the only thing that the collective creativeness is surging. That's what it is.
People in Topeka, at least they've evolved to a point where we don't pull the ladder of success up behind us.
Yeah.
We encourage other people to get on it, because we understand the rising tide lifts all boats, and that's exactly what, you know, we've learned that lesson. We've seen it in downtown Topeka. We've seen it when people collaborate, you know, with the arts community in this town.
Right.
We've seen it in the nightclub scene. We've seen it all over, and it's just because people had their little bits of pieces, the ideas, they invested in them, they worked hard for them, and they made it work. So thank you, Kerrice Mapes.
you.
785 magazine, 10 years old. Pick up a copy, check it out at 785.com.